things we have learned is that this game actually, Phillip has received a game loss for deck problems. So that's why we have our late start here. We do have a Delver Mirror, so one of those chess matches you're talking about.
Right. And Shuuhei is playing Esper Delver. He has Lingering Souls. He's also playing 3 main deck copies of Honor the Pure and 2 copies of Sword and War Peace. So he's not on the Pike plan that was very popular in the feature matches we had yesterday. And his creatures are just Delvers, Snapcasters, and Geist of St. Traps. So he also has 2 copies of Gutshot. So we're going to see if he. Nope, doesn't have one. So
this chess match, one of those things, Shuuhei Nakamura, a very formidable opponent in one of those chess match games. Shuuhei is playing 3 Pike, 1 Batterskull, no swords. He has a Divine Offering. This is Phillip. Phillip's playing 3 Pike, 1 Batterskull. He has a Divine Offering in the main. It is circled, so that might have been part of his deck reg error.
Right.
I'm not positive. But so he doesn't have the Honor of the Pure, which Shuuhei's playing. Shuuhei's a little more of a token build, Phillip more of a classical build. And the island from Phillip.
Kyle and Stacy Hogan.
A Thought Scour from Shuuhei.
Please come back up to the public event stage. Your event is ready.
Just cycling it.
So how often do you think you're supposed to, because Phillip doesn't have a 3rd land, how often do you think you're supposed to lead with the Moorland Haunt when you actually have more mana to represent that you are out of lands?
I probably wouldn't do it too often. Phillip actually does still have another land. He has a Seachrome Coast, I believe.
He must have drawn. I believe he drew it this turn, which makes sense because he also failed to hit on his Delver flip.
Right, and making Geist of St. Traft. So, board advantage established by Phillip. But like I said, there's a lot of different kinds of advantage going on here. Shuuhei said is or is not playing Pike.
He has 2 red-white swords.
Okay. So
we're gonna
legend rule the Geist. And so Shuuhei able to not represent not only but Mana Leak because of the fact that he has the Geist there. He's not too worried. A Delver not actually the scariest thing in this matchup.
Right.
It's good on damage, but there's a lot of ways to recover from that. I think cards like what's probably scarier is the Moorland Haunt with 2 creatures in the yard out of Phillip. And that's gonna be Shuuhei's more pressing problem right now.
Because it puts Nakamura in a squeeze where he doesn't want to play into Mana Leaks, but also if he just lets Phillip pass with his mana, then he gets to make spirits with his Moorland Haunt, so he's forced to run into Mana Leak.
Right, and running into it, second half of that, it denies Phillip from making a Moorland Haunt token. Still no flip for the Delver, so
Merfolk of the Pearl trying still just doing its thing.
Until it flips, it's not really a card in the matchup.
Right at the center of the stage. I do need both players' DCI numbers at the time of registration.
Both players playing some number of gut shots. Shuuhei still has more chances to hit one here.
Judge candidate Joel, come back to the main.
There's the Evolving Wilds.
And so Shuuhei 4 Geist of St. Trafts. Both players with 4. He also has 2 Invisible Stalkers and 1 Dungeon Geist.
It'd be nice if the artwork for Evolving Wilds and Moorland Haunt weren't so similar.
Yeah. Actually, sorry, it's Phillip. My apologies. It's Phillip with the Dungeon Geist and Stalker. Shuuhei with Lingering Souls.
Yeah.
Players in $10 draft.
Which what Lingering Souls actually does, I think it largely allows Shuuhei to ignore Delver of Secrets.
To the public event stage.
So Ponder out of Nakamura.
Nakamura, because of the inevitability and because of the raw card advantage he has out of Lingering Souls in his deck, I think in some ways becomes more of a control deck in this matchup.
Right.
The longer this game goes, the more he can sit back.
Also, he has Red-White Sword, which is potentially a huge ace if he's able to set it up.
Come on and
right.
sign up.
Red-White Sword's very good. Runechanter's Pike also functions in a lot of ways. Is very similar. If the game goes late, Runechanter's Pike. I mean, obviously right now it's a +1/+0, not very good. Shuuhei with the Ponder makes his 5th land, so he's now on. And
play a
Delver with Mana Leak up, or with 3 mana up. And we're Phillip to Mana Leak here. Shuuhei may not pay for it either. Though, because Shuuhei's deck has a lot of sorceries in it, like you said, Lingering Souls, a lot of very good reactive cards, Shuuhei's not going to represent as much counter magic as you'd expect here. Largely, there are not very many threats which he feels like he can't answer with his own sorcery. Phillip still drawing, still not flipping his Delver.
Jimmy Spears.
Also elected not to make a token with this Moorland Haunt at the end of the turn.
Your event is ready.
And so tapping both blue, and he does have pike. Still just one instant in the yard. Though very relevant here. Equipment advantage is one of the other axes that really matters in this matchup, because pike will eventually get large. Shuuhei not with very many ways to answer a resolved pike.
Yeah, he can snag for a little bit. He has Lingering Souls, which can provide a lot of blockers, but once it's in play, it's in play.
It's in play, and yeah, with the Moorland Haunt, it's almost certain that Phillip will find creatures for it to stick on. And the irony that Shuuhei is the first one to flip a Delver here.
Yep. Although his, I believe, was engineered.
Off the ponder. And with flips it off a Vapor Snag, so making pike a more awkward play here. He'll hit with the 3/2 Delver. Delver should be able to get a lot of damage in for Shuuhei here. With the backup of Snag, it'll be very hard for Phillip to ever profitably block the Delver.
Yes.
Especially as we see, okay, Snapcaster from Shuuhei.
I assume we'll be looking at Ponder here if it resolves.
It does. Goes for Ponder. Ponder also resolves. Also resolves. Shuuhei's hand still with more land in it. 6th land is about where you want to
be stopping.
Stopping.
Although even still, when you have like turns where you're sort of equipped and trying to play around Mana Leak and stuff, you can still...
Shuuhei ponders another land to the top and makes a land drop on it, despite having a 7th one in his hand.
It's possible he's trying to go for sword equip plus play around Leak in one turn or something like that.
And Moorland Haunt makes a spirit token. And he shows Gut Shot. A little late on the Gut Shot, but...
That's okay. There's a
finally
Snapcaster in play.
Shuuhei, though, with the option of Vapor Snagging his own Snapcaster Mage. Pike on Spirit Token is fine. And Phillip swings in just for 5 at the moment. Both players at 17. Shuuhei with a flipped with an Insectile Aberration and a Snapcaster Mage on 6 lands and a full graveyard. Phillip, Insectile Aberration, a Piked Spirit Token, 5 lands, one of them is a Moorland Haunt. Just 1 instant in the yard, but another creature to feed to the Haunt. And Shuuhei will opt to Vapor Snag the Insectile Aberration over the Spirit Token. I think he's just more buying time as opposed to trying to...
I think that I would have fired off, if he snagged before damage, I probably would have fired off my Gut Shot right there on the Snapcaster Mage. If you're confident you're going to do it anyway, it's just a +1 on the pike.
Right. So Shuuhei waiting until putting first strike damage on, taking 2, then snagging.
Okay. Savvy.
Sneaking into that little window on which it doesn't matter. And then Phillip got shotting it. So Shuuhei essentially saving himself 1 life. So Gut Shot on the Snapcaster Mage. Shuuhei's fine to let it die. Putting Phillip down to 14, Shuuhei at 15. And just as predicted, Sword of War and Peace with Mana Leak up coming out of Shuuhei. Phillip has 3 mana up, but yeah, it resolves, and we're going to see Sword on the Insectile Aberration. And it looks like Phillip has connecting, which that's very good. From equal life totals here, because Phillip's yard's very small, the Sword should be beating the Pike. And this goes back to why we Vapor Snag the Delver of Secrets, the Insectile Aberration. It's a blue creature.
Yeah.
Shuuhei will tap out to Ponder. Not really scared of too many plays out of his opponent. Remember, Phillip does have 1 main deck Divine Offering, which Shuuhei's probably not aware of.
Yep.
He also has one main deck Dungeon Geists. I think those are probably 2 of his best draws right here. Shuuhei gains himself back up to 17. Phillip with 3 cards in his hand, looking at lethal next turn from a sword.
So yeah, Phillip needing a...
So he'll make another Moorland Haunt token. Phillip draws here. He draws, I believe, another Plains appears to be his draw. He does have a Snapcaster Mage, a Gut Shot, a Mana Leak, but Phillip actually with no way to block the Insectile Aberration next turn. Could be game for him here, actually. He'll have to play out a lot of his hand. Possibly play out
his Snapcaster isn't even doing very much right now because his graveyard's like basically nothing.
Right.
He needs to, he basically needs to answer it or at the minimum empty out his hand to survive.
Well, actually, the Delver, the Insectile Aberration, doing 5 damage on its own.
Right, he has to empty out.
He has to completely empty out. So he goes for it. Delver, land drop, maybe not yet. Makes a pre-combat Delver, then swings. Shuuhei more than happy to take. And sort of War and Peace life total, not too much of a issue for him. Shuuhei drops to 13 to 6. Still though, sort of War and Peace.
Yep. Pike is kind of a funny card because there's some games and some draws where it's just like, but far and away the best card you can have, and then there's some draws like this where it's just like a bone splitter with a bunch of text.
Swings the Delver, Phillip with no answer.
Yep.
So Phillip receiving game loss game 1, Shuuhei outmaneuvering him very quickly on game 2.
Yep.
Shuuhei Nakamura wins 2-0.
Advances presumably to 2-0.
Yep.
Well on his way to recouping some of his, I imagine, significant travel costs, making his way from Japan to Salt Lake City.
Now, Shuuhei Nakamura, I believe, was